Hello and welcome to the Rinkside Review, an account bringing insights and updates into the ice hockey scene in the Czech Republic in English. I'm really happy to say that I'm joined today by Alex Lintuniemi. Alex, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to be here.
It's been a long time coming, actually. My relationship speaking with Alex goes back to the beginning of this season. So it's been one that I've been really looking forward to. And there's a lot that we're going to cover today that's hockey related and also regarding Alex's interests away from the ice, some shared interests that we both have. So there's a lot to look forward to. Alex, how's your summer going so far? What have you been up to?
The summer's been really good so far. Right now, I'm just with my family here in Boleslav. Been doing the summer training, and after the season, we actually took a couple of week vacation in Italy, and yeah, summer's been good so far.
And how's the summer training going with the team?
That's been good. We're training actually really hard, so it's pushing us for to have a good season next year, hopefully. And yeah, it's been fun and really hard also.
Yeah, great. So I think that I would like to rewind back to the beginning of your career. So your beginnings in hockey. You're from Helsinki, Finland, and it's a
Yep.
city and country with a rich history in the game of hockey. What are your first memories of the game?
Oh man, I don't. They're not even my own, really. I just know I started playing hockey when I was basically 2.5 years old, and I know I was at the hockey game when IFK beat Ilves in the 1998 finals in the Finnish league, and Olli Jokinen, the old
Oh, yeah.
legend in Finland, scored the game winner, and that's, I guess, my first hockey memory. But I don't really remember it on my own, but I was there
And when did you start to skate?
uh, when I was like 2 or 3 years old.
And did you put a stick in your hand immediately?
Yeah, stick in my hand and skates on, and stick in the hand, and helmet on the head, and that was it.
And when did you first play in defense, and what influenced you to play there?
Um, Actually, that's kind of a tricky question because all I remember growing up, I was always playing center mostly. I even remember my dad dropping me like 100 pucks a day to just take face-offs on my own and all that. But I don't really know exactly when and where it changed, but pretty early on, obviously, probably I'd say around 12, 13, 14 years of age. I was only playing defense after that. So I'd say around there.
Well, that makes sense because when I think I watch you and the fans in the Czech Republic watch you, it's obvious that you've got a lot of poise and calm on the puck, and you've got some very good offensive instincts for a defenseman. So
Thank you.
it's not surprising that you've got that background of the mix of different positions.
Yeah.
At the time you were growing up, Finland had stars like please excuse my Finnish pronunciation, by the way. This is going to be a very
It's all right.
tough gig with these names. So Teemu Selänne, Saku Koivu, and Mika Kiprusov, amongst others.
Yeah.
So who are your idols growing up?
Uh, Actually, the funny thing is, all my idols are either Canadian or Swedish players because my dad was a huge Detroit Red Wings fan, and I was
Ah,
always watching Detroit, and they basically just had Swedes and Canadians.
I think I know where this might be going then. So you're with your kind of idol. Am I going to guess right when I say Lidstrom?
Yeah, there's one of them, and Steve Yzerman and Henrik Zetterberg are probably my three main idols, and also I'd have to say Pavel Datsuk for
Oh,
sure.
and I think we might get onto him a little bit later
Yeah,
on in a part of your career that you had.
yeah,
So yeah, those guys are all legends in their own right for a good reason.
for
So
sure.
Finland are famous as well for producing elite skaters. Like when I watch you, you're a big guy, you move really well, like in all aspects of the ice. What's the routine like as a kid? Like, what do the coaches get you to do or recommend? And why do you think Finland in general has such good results in that element of the game?
Uh, so I've been asked this question a lot before, and I think I have the answer, but obviously I'm not sure. But
Mhm.
I remember in my youth, we did a lot of skill skating.
Mhm.
Like we'd focus on using the edges, focus on using your only your outer edge of the blade and like all these, like we just skate up and down the ice. I remember being maybe 8 years old to maybe 14 years old. We do this every day. We just do like a practicing our skating basically. So it's got to come from that, where the everyday coaches are teaching the guys how to perfectly use the edges in the right situations and all that. So when you get older, it's already in the back of your head, because you can't really teach a 25-year-old how to skate in a different way or anything like that.
Yeah, that's really good advice for any young listeners right there, just to drill those kind of aspects into your skating from as young as possible. It will give you the best possible chance to perfect that skill. Great. We can move on to your junior career. So you started in HIFK, which is the oldest active hockey team in Helsinki. In 2009-10, you won a silver medal in the under-16 SM Saya. What do you remember about that season?
Oh man, that was a really good season. That was one of the first seasons where you started to have some, not really fans, but there'd be people at the games. There'd be friends and family and extended family, and there'd be people at the game. It wouldn't be anymore where there's 50 people in the crowd. There'd be at least 300-400 people probably in the crowd most of the time. So that was a very good season, and I remember losing in the final to Jokerit. And if you actually go look at those teams, I'm pretty sure there's quite a lot of guys that have gone pro from under 16 Finland finals for that age group. So that's kind of it was a pretty good age group we were at that time.
Yeah, like that's one thing that we were speaking about a little bit off camera. Like when I was going through like the rosters that you were on and just the players that you played with, let alone against, it was just the list of names that crops up is unbelievable. So it's a testament to you that you had such a strong campaign that year and that you've gone on to achieve what you have. So it's excellent. I can also see that you were named to something called the under-16 Pohjola camp roster.
Yeah.
What exactly is that?
It was, I guess, at the time, like the under 15, under 16-year-olds, like it was like the national team, I guess. It was some sort of camp where they take the best players from that season and that age group, and then we'd have a tournament, just like the best guys in a tournament. And I guess I made the made the tournament or the team or whatever. So
you shared a locker room during your days at HIFK with a name familiar to NHL fans and Detroit fans in particular, Ville Husso. What was it like to have him in net behind you?
Very nice. He was one of my best friends growing up, and still to this day, he's a pretty good friend of mine. And yeah, actually, both of our dads are really good friends. My dad was our equipment guy, and his dad was the equipment guy at the time when we were playing at the U16 team that you just mentioned. So
yeah.
We were honestly the bestest of friends at that time, and having a great time.
Yeah, he's gone on to have a really, really good career.
Yeah, amazing.
And that's not the only one that we'll speak about, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure not.
You got your first taste of international hockey in that season as well, playing for Finland under 16. What was that experience like, and what do you remember about that?
Like I said, it's a long time ago, but I remember it was exciting because that was the first year like where you really get picked to the national team. There's no national team before U16 really. So obviously that was a great honor and the start of like a long journey towards the other national teams.
One guy on the roster stands out in particular, Alexander Barkov. What was it like to share a locker room with him, and just how good was he to play with?
I mean, I don't think I need to tell anyone how good he is at hockey, but
Yeah.
I remember he was a really quiet and really shy guy, and I'm pretty sure he's still more kind of a keep to yourself kind of guy, but obviously very well respected guy back then and obviously now too. So a very solid player.
Yeah, a bit of a humble killer then in that regard.
Very much so, yes.
Of course, last night his team Florida Panthers won the Eastern Conference Finals and the Prince
Again.
of Wales trophy. The team didn't touch the trophy out of superstition
I
and not
saw
wanting
that.
to break their momentum. Are you superstitious in any way on the game?
Absolutely I am.
Yeah,
I would absolutely not touch it. 100% no. Absolutely do not touch it. I have other things too, but it's one thing I would never do.
are you able to share any of those superstitions, or would you prefer to keep them to
Mm,
yourself?
yeah, I don't have anything crazy. I have a certain way I do my warm up, basically try and do it. Sometimes you forget a little bit and do it in a different order because there's a lot going on when you're warming up and stuff. But I tape my stick the same way. I do 7 times around, and then I do with the puck 3 layers on each side, or 3 stripes. So
Mhm.
I have a few things, and I always like to get a game day nap in. That's one of my big superstitions too. But sometimes there's no time, so there's a few small things, and yeah, nothing crazy though. I know some people have like crazy stuff.
Yeah, very often goalies have some very, very particular
Yes.
routines. And on that topic, in that under 16 team, your friend Hussar was fighting for a spot against two other guys who are
Yes.
exceptional netminders, Lankinen
Correct.
and Saros.
Yeah.
And Czechia also saw Lukáš Dostal move to Finland when he was
Mhm.
very young to develop. What do you think it is about the goaltending training that helps produce such excellent talents in that position?
Man, I don't know, but Finns are doing something right in that regard because I think we have a lot of goalies in the NHL every year, and there's more coming. I think there's like more and more all the time that make the NHL and stay in the NHL, and Finland's always been that way about goalies. I don't have the answer why, but I
Yeah, it must be something to do with the training as well. It's got to
think
be.
so.
The following season, you iced for Jokerit. What prompted that move?
So yeah, that's a tricky one because I was always a diehard IFK fan. My dad had the season tickets for the men's team. Like I said, I was there as a 3-year-old seeing them win it. I'm pretty sure my dad had the season tickets for the same seat for about 25 years to IFK, but he was the one actually who came up to me and said he thinks he's got a situation to me where he thinks for my development it would be better to move
Mhm.
over to Jokerit. I have more training. I get more assistance from the coaches regarding personal training and all that. They offered me like a no money at this time. I'm so young still, but a better package towards my
Mhm.
future. And it was a tough decision because, like I said, I was a diehard IFK fan.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was like leaving Juventus for Inter Milan, honestly. So at the time it was a tough decision, but I still think it was the best decision to do for my career at that point.
Yeah, and you know what? It was certainly the correct move as you won the under 18
Yeah,
SM Sire Championship.
that's true. I think
So
back to back also.
it was back to back. And what helped lead you to that success?
Uh, I think also at that point it was either always basically IFK, Jokerit, or maybe Kärpät, who would compete in my age group at least, who would compete for the title in either U16s or U18s. U20 it became more open, but until then it was always kind of the 3 teams who dominated for the most part. So I think it was always just having a better team or
And you were also called up to the Finnish national team 20 times at under 17 level that season. That was the joint most matches, actually.
oh
So
wow.
who did you play and where did you travel to? Do you remember?
Oh, U17. That would have been it's a tough one. I don't remember honestly. I think we might have gone. I don't know. I can't remember what year we would have been where. We could have been in Calgary that year. We could have been in Czech and Slovak. No, I think that was the year after for the U18 Elon Lincoln tournament. Yeah, I don't remember exactly where we were playing. They
Yeah,
were all over.
you were definitely a mainstay of that team. Um, And the following year, you were named the captain of the under-20s team, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yes.
Despite being a bit younger than some of your teammates. That must
Yes.
have been a really proud moment for you.
That was a very proud moment, actually. Yeah, I think I was named the captain for the U20 team in Jokerit U20 team when I was 16 years old. That was actually a very big deal at the time for me. I don't think I realized it at the time, but looking
Yeah.
back at it, that's actually a very big deal because I'm not sure if many other guys have ever had that happen to them. So
That was definitely something that when I did some research as well, I agree with
yeah,
you. I didn't find any other captains in the league
yeah, I don't
around
think
that time.
I don't think so. No.
No, you were certainly the
Yeah,
youngest, or at
I
least
think
amongst
so.
the youngest.
Yeah.
So did it help you mature as a player?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I remember that season was very hard for me in many ways because I was getting also called up to the Mestis
Hmm.
team, and then which is the second league
Yeah.
in Finland. And so then I remember I was up there for maybe 3 months, played maybe 10, 12 games, something like that. And I remember coming back to the Jokerit U20 and I wasn't the captain anymore. And I was telling everyone that's fine, but I think it was kind of pissing me off at the time. But,
Hmm.
but I mean, what can you do?
And how did you find that step up to the Mestis, the men's game, as a comparison to the U20s?
At that time, I felt just really confident in my game, and the two coaches that were in Mestis, actually, they knew me from before. From somehow they hadn't coached me, but I had worked under them, or one of them at least. So they really helped me actually and talked to me a lot because that was actually a lockout season in the NHL, and there were some
Mhm.
NHL players in the Mestis that season. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like just a scroll in the Mestis. There were some actual players in the Mestis that year. But I felt really good. That was when I was feeling that I might be good at hockey. I felt this might be something.
And like you say, some of the teammates again that you played with that year, whether it was at international level or club
Hmm.
level, there's one name again, Esa Lindell.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was a D man as well. Did you learn a thing or two from him because he was, I think, a year or so older
yeah,
or so?
yeah. He's a year older than me, and pretty similar style. Obviously, bigger guy. He now in the NHL, at least he
Of
plays
course.
much more simple role than what he used to. But I remember back then, Esa would be able to score a lot of goals and get some points. But yeah, I remember definitely for sure. I knew he was a good player too.
And two other guys as well, two other goalies, Jonas Korpisalo and
Mm,
Kazimir Kaskisuo.
yeah,
So does it help as a young defender knowing you have such reliable goalie options each night?
for sure. I mean, I don't know if you think about it back then that these guys are going to be superstars like they are, but they're obviously superstars already in their age group at that time. So it helps for sure.
And Kaskisuo, he does some amazing content on social
He
media.
does. He does.
Yeah,
He does some great stuff.
I would recommend to any young players, especially young goalies, to check it
For
out.
sure. Me too.
His
Awesome guy
range,
too. Very nice and humble guy too. So
yeah,
for
you
sure
really
go
get
check
that
his.
feel when you see
Yeah.
his videos. You know, his range is really vast. So he goes
Yeah.
from like how to clean your pads to like game day stretching
Yeah.
routines and everything in
That's what you
between.
want to
And
see. Yeah. It's cool.
yeah. He also did like a series of videos, if I remember, related to like what it was like to be a player during the COVID season.
Yeah, he's
Really
done some
great
good stuff.
insight.
I haven't even seen all of it, even though I follow him and stuff
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. I would recommend
Yeah,
it to any
for sure.
literally
Me too.
anyone watching this, like young or
100%.
old. If you want like great insight into the brain, the routines, anything into a top athlete, go and follow him on any social media platform you're on.
Yeah.
Once again, that season you were an international regular and you won an under 18s World Junior Championship bronze medal. Can you tell
Yeah.
us about that journey?
Oh man, that was very cool. Uh, so that was a wild tournament because I remember it was in Sochi and 2014, and they were building the Olympics to Sochi, Russia. So everything, that whole city was a mess. Nothing was ready, and the Olympics were gonna happen soon. And it's Russia, so everything's already crazy. So now stuff is crazy in Russia. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I remember it was a blast. We did really well. We had a really good team, and I remember we lost to Canada in the semifinals by I think 2-1. And I remember we played really well with that game, and then thankfully we were able to beat Russia in their home field.
Oh wow, that must have been an
Yeah.
amazing feeling, and I bet the atmosphere there, you could have cut it with a knife really after that.
It was actually crazy because they can be loud, and
Oh, for
they are
sure.
loud. So it was a very good atmosphere, and it was a very good tournament in general, and a very nice experience.
And to walk away with a medal as well, it's
Yeah, it was
probably
very
something
nice.
you'll never forget.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
And that ended your kind of journey in Finland for that period of time anyway. So around sort of 17 or 18 years of age, you took a big step in your career and moved to Canada for the next season. How did that move come about?
That was another one of those where now this time not my dad but my agents would come up with what's the next step, what do we want to do, what's the best thing for you. And we came up with the plan that the best thing was for me to go play in the OHL, or the Canadian Junior Leagues. So ended up there.
And how did that process come about? Like, how did you contact them? Did they contact you?
So I think how it worked, it's like a draft. They have a draft, but it's a little bit different than the NHL draft because some guys you sort of already you're talking to the team that you want to go to and the team that wants you. So I was talking to Ottawa, and luckily Ottawa had the second pick in the whole draft. So they picked me on that second draft. But I know some guys, I'm pretty sure actually, like Corpisalo, he wanted to go somewhere, and then he got picked by a different team where he didn't want to go. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but ended up not going to the Canadian Junior Leagues and stayed in Finland. But
Yeah,
it works a little bit different than like an NHL draft where just the team picks who the team chooses.
that's a testament to how highly thought of you certainly were in your junior days to get picked with that, number 2 pick. It's a huge achievement as well. What did you find the hardest when you arrived in Ottawa?
At first, I remember everything was awesome and I had a really good time because I already knew I liked the North American way of living and the culture from being in America when I was younger, from growing up watching NHL, NBA, all this stuff. I just knew it was for me, So I remember it was a blast in the beginning. Then I had a hard time at one point because the season was getting long and we had a pretty bad season that year. I think we were at the bottom of the league, or maybe top 3 bottom teams or something. So it wasn't maybe the best season, but still ended up being all right.
And how was the style in the OHL different from like the Finnish juniors and Mestis? Did it suit your game more?
I think so. Because like I said, always I like the North American way of playing. Their rink is a little smaller and everything's a bit quicker, and the actual game of hockey is a little bit more simple in a way, where you're just chipping the puck in and going after it and forechecking, where in I guess Finland or Europe in general, you like to hold on to it a little bit more. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I like both ways of playing, but I think it suited me at the time. At least I was doing pretty good.
I think that's a really important point as well. Like, you're used to playing in both styles, and it shows your flexibility and adaptability as not only as a player but as a human being. To move to another country, culture with a different language at that age, it speaks volumes about your character and how you can handle adversity in difficult moments. Another name that we can't ignore, the top scorer that season, Travis Konechny, we'll say it in the Czech way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What impressed you about his game?
Probably his speed, and not only his speed, but his speed in the quick turns. Because I'd like to think sometimes I can be pretty quick, but the ways, for him example, he gain momentum coming out of the small tight turns is just probably why he's in the NHL and scoring a lot of goals every season.
That summer, you got your big moment and you were drafted by the LA Kings with the 60th overall pick, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk us through the draft process to someone who isn't really familiar with it? Like, how would you explain it to them?
So the funny thing is, I didn't attend the draft.
Okay.
Even though I got picked pretty high. I don't really remember why. I think it was because my season wasn't the greatest. And we thought I was going to go maybe 5th or 6th or 7th round because of the season I've had. It wasn't the best. But so then I had stayed home in Finland. But the funny thing is, I was playing FIFA with my best friend while the draft was starting, and we obviously put it on the computer right in front of the FIFA screen. And maybe I don't know, an hour in, we were just checking and looking at the teams, the names they're picking, and I remember looking down 59, and I knew I had been talking to the Kings a little bit before I knew they were interested, which there were other teams too interested, obviously, but I knew there was Kings was maybe one of the ones. So I just happened to see Kings. I kept playing my video game. I kept playing FIFA, and then I saw number 60 and I saw my name next to it, and I just kept playing, and I had to recheck back, and I think I kept playing again, and I was like, wait, hold on, am I seeing this right? So it was just, I was literally just playing FIFA with my best friend, and we randomly saw it pop up on the computer, and then my phone started ringing from my agents and the GMs and my friends and everyone. So it was a very nice time and very nice day.
Do you remember who else was interested in you at the time?
It's a tough question. Now I'd like to say maybe Montreal, but I have a bad memory.
You can't say for sure, obviously.
No, I can't remember at all.
The LA Kings picked you, and the rest is history, really. So, and how did you celebrate? Was it a big celebration after you finished FIFA?
It sure was.
Yeah.
I remember after I had been all nervous and talking with all the GMs, the coaches, my agents, and all that, my dad and all that. After my friends had called me and stuff, and they said, let's go out, and I said, honestly guys, I have no money, I can't go out, and none of my friends really did either. So I had to call my dad, and thankfully he was able to put some couple $100 together, and we had a really nice night at the nightclub. And actually, I remember my probably had 10 of my best friends with me, and they were just throwing me in the air and yelling second round in Finnish. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool because it was pretty nice nightclub too. So
those are moments that you'll never ever forget.
Absolutely not. Yeah, we sometimes laugh about it still to this day.
Yeah, that's great. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah,
it's nice awesome to hear that you're still in contact with those guys that you came up with. And you went back to Ottawa the following year.
Yeah.
And had a fantastic offensive season. 36 points, 7+29. You also managed 4 games in the AHL for Manchester Monarchs. How did you adapt to that the AHL style of game?
So that was, I think I took a little bit of a stumble there, where some guys picked that up a little bit quicker than me, because I got there and I was kind of struggling with the coach, and I was struggling to understand what he wanted out of me. But the following year, I started to figure things out, and slowly it all started to work out.
And you found yourself back with Manchester the following year, but in the East Coast Hockey League. How did you find the long road trips in the coast?
I don't think I had any that were horribly. I don't remember if I was lucky that I skipped some, because I only played 30-something games. I'm sure there was 1 or 2 really long ones. I don't really remember much. I think I was lucky enough that, I don't really remember much, honestly. I remember having a good rookie party in Orlando because we were there for 3 days, though.
And for the next 3 seasons, you found yourself suiting up for the Kings AHL affiliate team, the Ontario Reign. And one thing we should clear up, Ontario Reign is based in California and not in Canada.
Yes, so, Ontario, California.
Yeah, those years were some of your best statistically in your entire career. What led to
Mm.
that individual success?
I think, like I just said, I sort of butted heads with the AHL coach when I first got there. I kind of didn't understand what he was demanding from me at the
Mhm.
time. And then once I finally figured that out, just my game became natural. And that's when I started playing some of my best hockey in my career.
And those Ontario rosters had some really strong players in their ranks.
Yeah.
Are there any guys that kind of stood out to you from the team?
Mm, from those teams, undercover player Mike Camadio, always knew
Okay.
he's on Vegas now, just won the Stanley
Yeah.
Cup the other year. Super undercover, like silky player. Like
Yeah.
you'd watch him as a maybe normal person, you wouldn't see it, but as a player, it was someone who you like. You'd know where he is. You can give him the puck in his feet if need be. It's just like a super smart player that maybe some guys wouldn't think he is. But there's like one guy I can think of who was like super undercover, super good, and obviously a really good player.
And were there any other guys that you played against that year that were a real pain to defend against?
Oh, in the AHL, yeah, there's been some really good players. I'm trying to think. I remember my last year in the AHL, I had trouble running after. I think his name is Dylan Dubé on
Hmm.
Calgary,
Hmm. Hmm.
Canadian. I remember he was running circle around it, around us. But there's been some other really strong players too. I don't know, kind of having a brain freeze right now, but I remember he bullied us at least.
And was that where you met your now wife when you were
Yes,
in
correct.
Ontario? So you must have some really great memories off the ice as well.
Yes, for sure. It was we had a lot of fun there as my friends, and then obviously with my wife too. And it was just a really nice. It's not like a crazy like LA. It's a little bit out of the city, inland inside the mountains. So it's more like a family area. It's nothing like no skyscrapers, just like family row houses and stuff built. So it was like a much more calm area with nice malls around and stuff. So it was honestly a really nice time to play there.
And after your contract in LA ran out, you signed with the Carolina Hurricanes. What led you to sign with them?
So I wanted to stay still in the AHL, NHL, and the LA Kings weren't giving me an offer anymore. So then I was just basically I was again with my agents talking and seeing what the best options would be and where to go, where to sign, and we ended up going to Carolina, which
Mhm.
then didn't end up working out at all. So
And yes, you stayed for 4 games with the AHL affiliate, I think, before you returned home to Finland. And you iced the majority of the rest of that season between Pelicans and a handful of games for JYP. How
yeah.
did it feel to be back in your home country after 6.5 years or so away?
It was a weird feeling because I never really thought I was gonna be back in the Finnish league, and it's the funny story. I always told my wife too that I was never gonna go back to the Finnish league or back to Finland and play there. But so it's a funny thing, but it was kind of cool. I was disappointed to leave because I knew once you leave, it's kind of tough to get back. But I was ready at that point, I think, to come and play in the European leagues. So, but yeah, it was a little bit tough. Pelicans was great, and then YIP was a tough time, and then COVID started in YIP too. So it was just not really
Yeah.
a ideal time for obviously anyone in the world.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think as you described it, like when you sort of signed that contract with the Hurricanes and then to move back unexpectedly and then
Hmm.
COVID, I think mentally it must have been a pretty tough year for your career.
It was very tough, and I'm sure for a lot of guys, and not only athletes. I'm sure everyone it was a tough time, but I remember, yeah, it was for sure a tough time because you had to deal with the teams not paying you on time, the teams cutting your pay, and all this stuff. So it was
Mm.
definitely a lot of stuff going on mentally too.
You're certainly right there. I think it was every industry in the world kind of
for
ground to a
sure.
halt, and everybody had to make these cuts. And I'm glad that we've kind of moved through those times now,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm sure you are too.
Yes.
Interestingly, it was your first stop back in Finland, which is home. What was the standard of Liga like compared to the AHL? What was different? What was similar?
Hmm. Similar, maybe, I don't know. Pretty close the level, I'd say. It was
Mhm,
pretty close. It's still compared to the OHL, where you're still playing against kids.
mhm.
AHL, you're playing against men, and Liga, obviously, you're again playing against men. So
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, it's a hard question, but I don't know how to answer it.
Yeah, that's no problem. And in 2021, you continued with JYP, we'll get the Finnish
Yep,
pronunciation there,
that's good.
before you took the jump to a very interesting place in the world.
Yeah.
You went to the KHL to ice in Kazakhstan for Barry's Nur Sultan. What are your memories of the KHL?
Oh, yeah, it was some good memories, some crazy memories, but it was definitely a fun time. Very crazy time, obviously. I was living in Kazakhstan, which anyone can imagine is crazy.
Yeah,
Uh, but I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun and really cold. That's what I remember, and the air quality was really bad.
yeah. It's funny that you say crazy stories about or memories of Kazakhstan. I think you're certainly not the only kind of import player to that league who has those stories. I remember a GB defenceman who he played really well this World Championships, Ben O'Connor. He went to Kazakhstan and he told his story quite extensively on another podcast called 4,000 and Counting.
Wow.
And again, I would recommend anybody who's interested in Kazakhstan, the KHL, to go and check it out because it's some of the most unbelievable things you can imagine that he spoke about there, and
Oh,
it's
I
also
bet. I
very
bet.
entertaining. What was it like living in Kazakhstan? It's a country full of interesting culture and heritage.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. It was we had to have our own personal drivers, for example. So you weren't, I don't think, allowed to drive on your own, or it was just too hectic in general. So that was one thing that stood out of mind. And the grocery store shopping, that was a tough time also.
Because the cuisine is probably totally different,
It
right?
is, it is for sure.
I was literally going to ask, that was one of my questions. What was the food like there?
I think I tried to eat like pretty normal stuff for the most part, but
Mhm.
I don't really remember what they had anything crazy. I know they eat sort of same stuff as the Russian, the borscht soup, for example, but
Yeah.
not sure if they had anything that would stick out in my mind.
And how did your family adapt to life in
They
Kazakhstan?
actually they stayed in Finland when
Oh,
I went to
okay.
Kazakhstan. Yeah, so they were at home.
And during the course of this season, I saw that you had a photo with one of your idols, Pavel Datsyuk. What was it
Yep.
like to play against him and meet him?
That was very nice. Actually, he's, like I said earlier, is one of my idols. But funny thing is, I had actually met him before through
Okay.
my trainer that I had in LA. Shout out to Jeremy Clark, the best
Hmm.
trainer out there.
Yeah.
Got a really nice gym in Minnesota,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
Minnesota top team, the best gym in Minnesota. But anyway, he had been like basically a personal trainer for Datsuk. I don't remember. He said maybe 6 or 7 years at that time, and this was the time when Datsuk was about to leave Detroit. So instead of having his camp in Russia and then playing in Detroit, he had his hockey camp in Detroit because he was going to go back to Russia that year.
Hmm.
And at the time, we were in Minnesota training with him when he was going to have this camp in Detroit. So we flew there, and I was actually like helping kids out there. I was one of his like coaches there,
Yeah.
showing the kids how to do some moves and stuff. So it was very cool. And then he gave me a signed jersey and a signed hat. So it was very cool. And then playing against him a few years later and already watching him for probably 10 years growing up. So it was very special to me for sure.
Yeah, that's the stuff that dreams are made of right there.
Hmm.
So, and again, another memory that will stay with you, I'm sure.
For sure, forever.
Yeah. And that season as well, you suited up in the full national team, the Leonat. How did that feel? Do you remember your first shift in the full men's national team?
Oh yeah, that was very special, and I think there was still maybe a little bit of COVID left at that time, so the arena wasn't full or anything. But I remember I had two good friends in this in the stands, and I remember my dad was at least at the game, so it was definitely a proud moment. I remember.
Do you remember who you played against?
First game, oh maybe Russia. I'm not sure.
Again,
Maybe,
so
yeah,
and next up for you was the move to Mladá Boleslav.
yeah.
So how did that move materialize and who contacted you about it?
So again, just my agents and yeah, I was kind of looking for a job. I had just done the sports military in Finland that summer. I had finished that, and then I was just looking for anywhere to play really, and a good spot obviously. And I think Mlada needed a defenseman at the time, and they contacted my agents, and then we came here, and the rest is history.
That's a unique thing that you mentioned about sports military. What exactly
Yeah.
does that entail?
It's just so in Finland you have to complete your military
Hmm.
before your age something, 27 or 28, 29 something, unless you get an exception or something from being hurt or having issues or something. So yeah, like I'd say the sports military, because I'm lucky enough to have gone to the sports side of the military, because if you go on the normal side you have to stay there for a full year,
Hmm.
full calendar year. Obviously you're 1 week in, 1 week out, but I was only there for about 2.5 months for the whole summer, so I got lucky in that way.
No, it's a definite unique experience. And how would you compare the Liga and Extraliga? Because this is something for me. Do you see a lot of guys that are top players from both leagues kind of switching, one going
Hmm.
from Extraliga to Liga and vice versa? Is there a big difference between the two? And what's your opinion on that?
It's been always, or for me, it's been always pretty similar. I honestly think that the last few years, the Czech league has taken over. That's my honest opinion, and I mean, you could see it in the tournament that was just played, and you can see it in the level of guys that are coming back from the NHL that come back to these bigger teams. And yeah, I think the level here is great, and it's just awesome. So competitive here.
There's a lot of guys joining this summer as well that are very interesting
Hmm.
names. So the
For sure,
league again will be very competitive.
completely agree. It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
And you mentioned the World Championship win. That first season you played under coach Radim Rulik. What
Hmm.
was it like to play under him?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think we butted head a few times, and but I think he was, at the end of the day, he was really like a hockey guy, down
Hmm.
to earth hockey guy, obviously. And so yeah, it was, I didn't mind it. He was a good coach, and I think we that year we made the semifinals even as a underdog team. I think we beat the Mountfield Haradas that year, who won the President's Trophy. So
And you iced a solitary game for Slavia Prague when I look at your record. How did
yeah.
that come about?
I had COVID, and I was dying for 2 weeks straight, and
Mhm.
they wanted me to get back in shape after having COVID, so they sent me down for one game to get my conditioning up, and it was all right because I was dying that game.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't seem that way from the scoreboard. You got two
Yeah,
assists
that's fine.
and you went straight back to the team.
Yeah,
So the following season was a strong offensive one for you as a player. I certainly remember your playoff performances when you played against Brno. You got time on the power play and you really showed what you can do and your creative side as well. Did you feel like you played with freedom that year and that's what led you
for
to
sure.
that level?
For sure, I had a lot of freedom that year. Maybe too much at one point, because pretty sure my plus minus was pretty bad that year. But I mean, offensive wise, yeah, I had a lot of freedom. I felt like I they let me do what I wanted, try my Michigans and whatnot, my
Yeah,
between the leg moves and backhand passes and stuff that maybe other guys wouldn't try, but to me it's cool and I'm gonna keep trying it. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they
And
definitely let me do it, and I think they're still gonna let me do it this year here in Boleslav. So,
yeah, and that's fun. We talk about discipline in hockey and we talk about, these kind of very serious elements of the game, but you need guys that are showmen as well to bring the crowd in and, to watch that as a fan. Those are the kind of players that fill the stadium. So, you doing that is a very important thing to the team as well from that sense.
yeah, for sure, I appreciate that. I always try to. I don't know how to say it. Maybe like, yeah, it's just not showing off, but it's I'm a showman. You know what I mean? So if I feel like you're there to cheer me on and watch me, I'm gonna try and do some cool stuff
Yeah,
back for sure.
and that's exactly why you are a fan favorite in Boleslav for sure. So I think that they will really, really appreciate that continued skill and those
Let's hope
moves.
so.
So one team that certainly took notice of those playoff performances was Cometa Brno.
Hmm.
I think that they must have taken the attitude of if you can't stop him, then sign him. Uh, was the assistant coach at the time, Yaroslav Modry, a big reason why you went to Brno, given that you played under him when he was an assistant at Ontario Reign?
Yeah, it was definitely. I remember we had a lot of talks during that summer. Had a lot of talks with my agent also that summer, and it was definitely a big part of it. Why I came to Brno and stuff.
Your time was cut short in Brno. You ended the season back in Boleslav. What was it like returning to Boleslav? Is it like a second home for you?
It almost feels like it, yeah. I think I mentioned to you earlier when we talked a few weeks back that we got the same apartment here that we've had before, and basically all the decor still was the same that we had bought here and all that stuff. So it was like coming back to our old home and old house, and so that was a kind of sense of relief after having a tough time in Brno. So.
I would like to set the scene a little bit here. So the date is February 4th, 2024. Alex Lintuniemi sets foot in the winning group arena for the first time since the big trade happened. What was going through your head?
I just knew I had to. I knew I just had to show them that they messed up on the trade, that they should have never even considered it, and I'm pretty sure that's what I did.
I was going to say, this led me on to my next point. You had an absolutely flawless game that night. You ended up with 1+2, 3 points, and the winning goal in overtime. Your confidence was even so high in that game that you attempted a Michigan style goal, which I remember.
Yeah.
How did you feel after such a tremendous performance in what must have been an emotional game for you personally?
Oh yeah, I remember just that I wanted to definitely make a difference in that game, and thankfully I did, and it was sort of like a relief off my shoulders that I did because I wanted to show them that they were wrong for even wanting to trade me in the first place. So it was definitely a big relief, and I felt a lot of pressure off my shoulders at that moment.
And you finished the season strongly with Mladá Boleslav. I think you
Yeah,
won 7 out of your last 11 games, I think, in overtime or
yeah.
regulation. You're building a really strong looking roster for next season on paper. What's the mood like around the training camp this summer?
It's been really good. It's been really positive. So I think we're all really excited and looking forward to what we're going to be able to do this upcoming season.
And you've been reunited with two ex-teammates from Cometa for the next
Yeah.
season, so Steve Moses and Dominic Furch.
Yep.
What can the Boleslav fans expect from them?
Oh man, uh, Furky's gonna give us a lot of nice saves and a lot of saves in general, and some confidence to our defensive zone and some calm presence in the locker room. And Stevie's gonna bring his goals, hopefully.
I have a lot of respect. It's worth saying for Dominic Furch because his wife was very very ill away from the ice, but
Hmm.
he turned up every single game for Brno, and he was just locked in, and he was absolutely a testament to his family is probably the best compliment I can give him.
Yeah.
Not just a hockey player, but clearly a very, very good human being. And
Absolutely.
yeah, to be in a room with a guy, like as you say, that exudes that kind of calmness and that mental strength, he's going to be a massive
For
addition.
sure, and especially in a position like that, I think it always helps when a goalie is super calm. It helps when there's some sort of panic around, and absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, and he pulled off one of the best saves I think I've seen in the Extraliga against Boleslav. I think you were
I
playing in
think
that
so.
game.
Yeah, in maybe the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. There was
No,
under a minute left, empty net.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the puck
I
goes.
was on the ice. I dropped on my knees. I couldn't believe it.
It was one of those moments that I think everybody in the stadium, like no matter which team you're a fan of, it was just one of those moments that you watched and you just thought, wow, like I've seen that live. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Cool.
And as you say, Steve Moses as well. I mean, he's a real hard worker as well as a point getter.
Yep.
He's really, really hard worker. He looks like a very good leader on the ice. So that's going to be a massive addition as well.
It is. It's going to be very good. We can't wait.
And on to a couple of questions, and then we'll ask some fun getting to know you questions. So
Sounds good.
underrated players. It was something I asked Patrick Demel in our first episode. So any underrated players you played with or against in the Extraliga that you'd like to shout out?
So I was just looking through the rosters who I played with, for example, here in Boleslav, and yeah, Thomas Fort.
Yeah, okay.
There's a really underrated two-way center who still does a lot of work. He hits, he blocks, he does everything for the team. He wins face-offs and still puts up a decent amount of points. So that's definitely something that the guys here in Boleslav respect, and probably I would say guys around the league would respect too.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of defensive responsibility and he handles
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
really, really well.
Very well two-way center. Kind of the same thing like I was mentioning about Amadio earlier, kind of available. He's talking to you, and when the defense doesn't have a play or has the back to the play, and can just make a little backhand pass because they're always there in the middle. So it always helps the defenseman.
Who do you watch out for, like on the team sheet? Like who's a guy that you think, yeah, like we're gonna have to really make sure that this guy is
Yeah, actually, there's few guys in this league, obviously, but someone I was thinking from playing against them in the American League for a long time is two guys, Andre Kase, I don't know if I'm saying it right,
yeah,
and
Andre Cachet.
Martin Kaut, part of it. Say,
Yeah.
those were guys I knew from playing against them in America, and I knew they were highly rated talents there. So I knew they're gonna be, and they have been problem and an issue here to defend against those guys.
The first interview I did with Patrick Demel, he played with Andre Cachet this season, and he sung his praises. He said that he was absolutely not only just a great player on the ice, but just such a leader and professional off it. And you can see, you know, he had an amazing World Championships too, and
Absolutely.
He's a guy who's got NHL level talent, but due to injuries, he's kind of playing back home, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get that call again to go back to North America.
For
Great.
sure.
So we can move on to some of the fun questions that I got sent in from various people. Even my partner asked me a few of them as well because she was interested. Nice. So what's your favorite Czech word?
Favorite Czech word? No, I don't know. Favorite Czech word? No, I know. Volno. Day off.
Yeah. How is your Czech in general?
My Czech is not the greatest. I honestly think my wife can do it a little better than me. Like when we're going to restaurants, ordering stuff, she can basically put a whole sentence together, but I'm still struggling with that. I can say a couple words here and there. Like I can manage to buy in the restaurant, for example, but it gets tough. It's not the greatest.
To be honest, I think you've kind of got a bit of a free pass knowing Finnish, which has to be one of the other languages that, like, you know, I've come across it. One of my best friends lives in Oulu.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I'm very humbled by her journey in learning a language, because she's
for
learning
sure.
Finnish, and I just think
Czech is definitely easier to learn than Finnish.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's difficult, but I think given some time and exposure, it's a little bit more manageable than Finnish.
Yeah, I think so.
Which teammates do you have the closest bond with from your career?
Closest bond with my entire career?
Yeah, or in general, just it could be that you're in contact with to this day.
Yeah, few guys in the NHL. I'll give Curtis McDermott, big boy, a fighter in the NHL.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's coming here to Prague, because he just signed with New Jersey, and they're coming here for the stadium series or whatever they're called. So
you gonna make it down to any of those games?
Yeah, hopefully, or at least to see him. But there's one guy I'm close to. There's other guys, the same friend group of guys that I'm really close with. All these guys, and they know who they are. So
is there any fun locker room guys, you know, like that you've played with in the Czech Republic, for example? So a bit of a joker, a guy who keeps the spirits up.
A jokester keeps the spirits up. I'm trying to see from Czech.
Yeah, from the Czech Republic.
Nah, I'm trying to think. I can give you a good example from America. I played with Paul Bissonnette.
Oh, of course. Now
He was going to be for you.
he was going to be one of my later questions. But what was it to share? What was it like to share a locker room with Biz?
Yeah, it's just complete mayhem, but absolutely a blast. Yeah, it's I mean, just the biggest team guy you could find, but also just the biggest goofball you can find. So
yeah,
definitely
a great character.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your talent that not many people know about?
Is this referring to my video gaming?
Yeah, it could be. It could be anything.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. So that's what I like to do. I don't know if it's talent that I have. I'd like to think I'm talented on video games, but that's what I like to do. Anything else? I'm trying to think. I don't really think I'm talented with anything else.
Yeah. So on the subject of video games, you've got a bit of announcement that you would like to make. So I'll let you take the floor and
oh man,
tell the listeners about what you've got going on.
So yeah, guys, I literally just started gaming on Twitch, and you guys should follow me on there. It's same as my Instagram, same as my everything. I think all my accounts are the same. BBIIRDYY Birdie. So yeah, give me a follow, guys. I would appreciate that. But yeah, it's just something I do on the side as fun. It's just play video games with my friends. I've always done it, so just decided we're gonna start recording it and twitching it now.
I can give you my own testimony on it. Alex plays a variation of different games. So if you're into hockey, football, baseball, any other type of games, he's going to be playing those. You should definitely check him out. The link is going to be in the description. It's not just going to be in this video, but the link will be in the description of every video that I put out, because I think the least I can do is support the guys in their ventures outside of hockey. You know, we know them as hockey players on the ice, but there's a lot more to the individual than just hockey. So, you know, maybe we can get involved a little bit in that community, help it grow, help it spread. So
appreciate that.
It's no problem. Awesome. And what would your career be if you weren't a hockey player?
Oh man, I wish I could say I would be a footballer, but I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything. I don't know.
On the subject of football, who's the best player at keep-ups, the warm-ups that you have? I don't know what you call it in Finland, but in England we call it keep-ups. Yeah, two-touch keep-ups.
Yeah.
Who's the best guy that you played with for that? Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good question. There's a lot of good guys. I think Slovakian guy Peter Budaj would be the best keep up player I've ever played with. He is a really, really skillful keep up or two-touch player. Definitely, probably the most skill I've seen on a hockey player with a soccer ball would be him.
And there's a really interesting video of you from your Kometa days where you're doing it with a puck as well.
Oh yeah.
Is that something you practice for fun as well?
I do it anywhere really, at home, outside, anywhere. You see a ball, I'm kicking it around. So with my daughter, for example, we kick it in the yard. So
yeah. And does she skate? Is she involved in any level of sport?
she is not, but this year we're actually gonna take her skating a lot more. We did that a few years ago, and she kind of threw a fit, but we're gonna definitely have her skating a bit much more. And she's currently not playing anything other than just like tennis at her school, and I think she had rugby earlier in her other school, but we're gonna get her into, I think, soccer and what is it called? Tennis and gymnastics. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Gymnastics.
Yeah, your wife helping you out there with this. Yeah.
I needed a little help from my wife there.
Is anyone else in your family involved in any like skating sports, ice sports?
My younger sister actually is a very talented, not figure skater, but synchronized skater.
Okay, yeah.
She's 15, 16 years old, and she's skating with 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and she's always been unbelievable at it. Actually, I'm very proud of her. She kind of followed in those footsteps, and she's honestly amazing. The stuff they do, I can't skate how my sister skates. So
yeah, maybe you can learn a thing or two from her.
Very proud of her. Yeah, I definitely need to get some skating lessons from her.
And a final question that's kind of an interesting one on this topic is, when you're raising a child overseas, how do you keep the kind of Finnish culture alive in your family? Does your daughter speak Finnish at all, or?
She doesn't. No, not as much as we'd like to, and I'd like to. Excuse me, but it's something we're trying to teach her, and she actually, it's a funny thing, now that we've been living in Czech, she's kind of forgotten the Finnish part, and she knows more Czech now than Finnish. So
but it's going to be useful for her everyday surroundings for sure. So
for
I mean,
sure,
that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And you've got a whole lifetime to make up, you know, when your father's finished, you've got the whole of your life to explore those roots. So there's a shared interest that both of us have, and we've avoided the topic up until now, but we won't avoid it anymore. The eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that there are 2 football shirts on show. So, Alex, tell us, football, when did you start enjoying football? Juventus is your team. How did that come about?
Sort of the same thing again, how I fell in love with Juventus and the Italian national team. How I did with Detroit back in the day. My dad was at the time a Juventus fan, and I remember one of my first football memories is I remember the 2006 World Cup. That's the first tournament. I remember watching games. I remember seeing goals happen. So that was a tournament. Obviously, Italy had a legendary squad with insane players and a lot of Juventus players at the time, and I just fell in love with all those guys like Del Piero and Gigi Buffon and Cannavaro and all these guys. So it's just, that's sort of how I fell in love with Juventus.
Has that had an influence, for example, on your goal celebrations in hockey and your numbers that you wear by any chance?
For sure, yeah. I don't know, you guys have probably seen, when Ronaldo was playing for Juventus, I used to hit the Sue celebration. And I think actually last season when my mom and sister was here visiting me in Boleslav, I did the Dusan Blahovic. He used to put his fingers in his ears. And I hadn't scored in about 25 games, and then I scored, and then I just went like this. Another celebration I did, and then number 10 I specifically wear for Del Piero.
Of course, a club legend.
Yeah, it's I think he's got the most goals for the team, and maybe most games too, or I think
and you've got a Juve tattoo as well, showing your love to the...
Correct, there in the
it's forever. Forever there.
No, it's just yeah, exactly.
And you
It's
managed
cool.
to catch a game this off
Yep,
season.
yep, I did. That was awesome.
Who did they play against, and what was the result?
Ah, man, I think like I said, a bad memory, but they played Fiorentina and they won the game. It was either 1-0 or 2-0, but it was a very nice time, and that was during the time I was in Italy with my family, and I sort of drove there on my own for an hour and a half and just watched the game, and it was a really nice experience, and
Yeah, a great way to unwind as well,
yeah, for
you're
sure.
usually on the other end of it. You're a player in the
That's
stadium
right.
full of people, and you can finally let loose and be the
It's
fan,
correct. The other way around.
And the Juventus fans are absolutely fanatic. They
Yeah,
love their team, so
unbelievable.
it
They,
must have
I
been.
Yeah, I think we talked about it before. They kind of fell off for 2 3 years here, and I'm just glad they're picking back up where they left off from like
Yeah.
the 2018 2019 area.
And they've
So
got a young coach coming in, Thiago Motta. He's going to make a world of difference. He's really famous for his kind of
yeah,
forward-thinking ideas, and he's
yeah,
done
exactly.
amazing things with Bologna, making them punch above their
Unbelievable.
weight.
Yeah, their first time ever the spot in the Champions League for Bologna. So it was a very good job, and yeah, we're excited that Allegri's gone.
Yeah, yeah. I think the thing with Allegri, I think that to a lesser extent, on a lower kind of food chain level, Crystal Palace had the same thing. My team, where
Yeah,
we had Roy Hodgson, who will forever be a club legend. He's
exactly.
in his mid-70s. He's a Crystal Palace fan. He grew up watching the
Yeah,
club himself, and he did an amazing job. But the time was right to move on. We got on a bit more of a younger, forward-thinking manager in Glasner, and you can see the difference in play already. The
right
less
away.
conservative approach, a bit more
Exactly.
gung-ho. Let
Yeah.
your creative guys create, and
Yeah,
the rest will
exactly, and
follow.
that's how it should be. As
Yeah.
as a player, that's the freedom I want, and I'm sure in any sport, these same guys they want that freedom also. So
Yeah, exactly that. And it's exciting times for both of our clubs,
yeah, it is.
it's and we would be kind of remiss to not mention the Euros coming up. So any
Yeah,
tips
that's
for the
true.
Euros? Any teams that you're looking out for that you think can go all the way?
All the way, I'm probably gonna have to root for Portugal because sadly I don't think Italy has what it takes to go all the way this year.
Hmm.
And then I think I mentioned to you that I wanted Albania to be my dark horse sort of this summer,
Yeah.
but then they got thrown into the group of death, so that kind of kind of
Yeah.
sucks for them too. And I think a lot of other people wanted to kind of see how they would do too. So
Yeah, it's that's true. I mean, they were so good in the qualification, if I'm not mistaken, Albania, and they absolutely really punched above their weight, but in a group like that, the group of death is going to be tough.
tough.
Yeah.
Even for the better teams, it's gonna be tough too. Because then if you go one behind, you're gonna be thinking about it. And the more the game goes on, it's just gonna be tough.
Any thoughts about England, for example, because they've got a really strong squad, and what's your feeling on them?
They're gonna do good, and then they're not gonna win it. How it happens always. But
Yeah, you've
obviously,
summed
like you
up.
said, they have a really good squad. I think always, but think they will never win it.
Yeah, you've basically summed up my entire life as someone English, where it's like you should know better than to believe that England can go all of the way, because there's always something that gets in the way, and they will somehow, figuratively speaking, drop the ball in moments that are huge. We seem to not be able to get over the line. So I agree with you. I can see it being another situation where it's a semi-final or final defeat.
It's a good tournament, but it's
Yeah,
not what the English people want, and it's not what the England players want.
no, no.
Knowing the talent they have.
Yeah, and especially some of the younger talent coming through. I think that it's not going to be long until we see England win a major tournament, but I'm not sure it's going to be right now. That in future, from my perspective, they can finally win something, but the long wait continues.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Hopefully for you soon it's over, but
We will see, we will see. But like I said before, like with the young crop of players that we've got, I don't think it's going to be long before eventually something will click.
Yeah, for sure. It's just time.
Yeah, and whether they can be consistent or not, winning things remains to be seen. But at least one trophy, I think, will come home, so to speak.
It's coming Rome.
Yeah, it was in that last one. I
Yeah.
mean, that was the opportunity to win for England, and they completely froze up in that big moment. So,
I agree. It was for sure.
Now, I have prepared for you something a little bit different. It's a Who Am I football quiz, and these players are going to be related to teams that perhaps that we follow, and perhaps some players from Finland and the Czech Republic as well, just to give you a little clue. So,
okay, cool.
This first player that we can do the quiz on, the first identity, mystery player, he played for both Juventus and Crystal Palace. He won the Italian Championship 3 times in 97, 98, 2001, 2002, 2002, 2003. He's also won various things in his homeland with Ajax Amsterdam. He also played for rivals Inter Milan and won an Italian Cup as well. Do you have any idea who this is?
Oh man, so he's from the Netherlands, you said?
He is.
Played for Inter or
And
AC?
Inter, and he also played for Juve as well.
Juve and Palace.
And Palace. In the twilight years, he was at Palace.
I don't know exactly who that would be now.
So I can give you another clue that will really give it away. So in terms of his appearance, there are two things that are quite unique about him.
Oh,
so
I can already guess. I think I could have guessed it. Edgar Davids.
Yeah, it is. It's Edgar Davids. It is, and he had some time out of the game, and then I think he joined Palace, and then went on to play in the 4th league in England for Barnet.
Oh my God, I think that's right. That's crazy. What a story.
He managed
cool glasses
Barnet.
on.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was what was his nickname? The Pitbull.
Yeah, it was the Pitbull.
I think he was crazy good player though in his prime.
And Van Gaal was the guy who gave him the nickname, I think.
Oh wow, that's cool. I think I've seen that clip on Twitter where it's him and Seedorf on AC Milan at the time going absolutely toe to toe on in a midfield battle in like the late 90s in the Juventus AC Milan game. It's like a 2-minute clip where they're just going at each other and then they're just friends after the game.
Oh yeah, neither of those guys gave an inch. They're both really amazing competitors. So
very good. Yeah.
On to the next guy. So this is another player who played for both Crystal Palace and Juventus. He's a big club legend at Palace, and he played during the 90s. I believe he's in his like mid to late 50s now, and he looks no different like to when he played for Palace. He was great. I think he was good for Juventus as well, but I certainly know him from his Palace days. Have you got any idea who it could be?
Did he play for Chelsea or no?
I don't think so. He was the Italian national team assistant very, very recently, perhaps even as far up as last year.
Is it Gianluca Vialli or?
It's not Vialli.
It's not him?
It's not. He also managed Palace. He might be slightly, to be honest, his Juventus days were probably around before our time, really.
Okay.
So it's a guy called Attilio Lombardo.
I wouldn't have known that, no.
Yeah, so he's a club legend of Palace.
Okay, cool.
And he played also for Juve. But yeah, he actually played for Juve. Your dad will know him for sure.
Yeah.
In 95, so.
Nice.
Another guy, this guy is a Czech player. He's retired now. He played for Juve as a right back, and he's Czech.
I don't know how to say his name. I already know who it is.
How would you try to say his name?
Grigera.
Yeah, that was good, I think.
But the first name, I don't even want to attempt.
Zdeněk Grigera, I think.
All I remember, he was bad.
Yeah, he
at least for Juventus. I remember he was respected the Czech national team player, but for Juventus, I think he was in that area when we were doing really bad.
Yeah, he he was very good for Ajax, I think, in the
Yeah.
Eredivisie, and he played for Juventus for a couple of seasons. I
Yeah.
really don't remember if he was like, the regular starter, but I think he played like a pretty large amount of
Yeah,
games.
pretty large amount. But it was that time where they had those scandals with going down to Serie B and stuff like that. I think it was around that time, so the team was struggling as is.
So we can move on to a Finnish player now. He is a forward. He scored lots of goals for Crystal Palace and Birmingham City, mainly in England. He started his kind of English spell at Chelsea. And he's still very well thought of, I think, in both Crystal Palace and Birmingham. But his career was kind of derailed a little bit by injury. So, any ideas?
Mikael Forsell.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very, very good player. Even for the Finnish standards at the time, I think he was by far at that time Finland's best player in the national team. And it was a time where Finland was really bad, even much worse than what they are now, for example. So he was kind of our only, and I guess Sami Hyypiä was still around that time. But yeah, as a forward and scoring goals, he was really our only player.
Yeah, the Finnish contingent of players was pretty large in Crystal Palace, and around that time we had Aki Rihilahti and Jonas Kolka as well, I think. And a bit later we had Shefki Kuchi, he was famous for his kind of goal celebration.
Very big forward too.
Yeah. So Finnish players have a very decent heritage in Crystal Palace for sure.
That's awesome.
So the next one that we've got is a Finnish player. He was undefeated for almost all of this season until his final game of the season, which was a cup final. He has Slovak roots, and he was also a big part of his team's success. Any ideas?
Yes, Lukas Radecki,
Exactly.
the Leverkusen goalie.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I just yesterday watching the Champions League final, the Finnish commentators actually they mentioned that he didn't win the goalie of the season in the Bundesliga this past. Yeah, the Dortmund goalie Kobel won it, which to me is crazy.
Yeah, it is. That is crazy. I mean, when you go undefeated, you would think that
I didn't know. For sure the goalie, even if the team has outperformed every other team, is the goalie is still there too.
Yeah,
he's part of that team outperforming them, and especially a team like Leverkusen who's never won it before. I understand if it's Bayern who wins it for the 15th time in a row, but
yeah, it is.
so
It was a one-off
he deserved it.
opportunity. Yeah, he did deserve
Exactly.
it.
You could say that. So
Yeah.
I just had to say that because I feel like he deserved it for sure.
Yeah. And our final quiz question is, this is a Czech player. He's played actually in Italy for quite some time now, as a starting player and also like as a kind of impact sub. He's played for Udinese, Lecce, Hellas Verona, Fiorentina most recently. He's an attacking midfielder. Any ideas?
Antonin Barak.
Exactly.
He's a
Antonin
solid
Barak.
player. He's a very good player. He's got a mean left foot, that's for sure.
I think that you've got an A grade on your football quiz knowledge, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
And probably the final thing before I let you go, I've taken up a lot of your time and I'm very, very appreciative of that. We will be running a kind of fantasy football league, Euro Fantasy League, and I'll put the code to enter. All of the information I'll put on social media and in the link to this video. But basically, you need to subscribe to Alex on Twitch, follow the TRR hockey page on any one of the social media platforms, and enter the league. The winner of the league will get a signed player card from Alex. So it will be his hockey card from this year. I'll find a hockey card of your choice. Alex will sign it. I'll send it to you.
We can do multiple cards. We can do 2 or 3 different cards. We can throw in a hat for sure too.
There's some really nice prizes to be won. just make sure that you're subscribed and you're in with a chance to win. So Alex, thank you very, very much for your time. I really
thank you.
appreciate it. And it's been great fun.
It's been awesome. Thank you for having me. And this is my first podcast, so thank you for having me. It's awesome.
It's only my second, so we're both novices. So.
We're both new.
Yeah,
That's great,
and
man.
I can say for sure that this won't be the last time that you'll see Alex's
Absolutely
face
not.
on this channel. He's always welcome, and we'll look to collaborate on some future content for sure. So, yeah, as I said, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the preseason.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you soon.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Ciao.